All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. And this is going to be a video about how immortals are going to rule the world, right? And why that's a good thing. And give me a second, and I'm going to go into the scriptures. But I was thinking about this yesterday night, about why having immortal rulers is a good thing. And I'm going to try and, Lord willing, hopefully in the spirit, man, try and go into this topic a little bit and explain why having an immortal ruler is way better than having a mortal one, right? Having immortal rulers is better than having mortal rulers. This is Sirach chapter 41 and verse 1. O death, how bitter is the remembrance of thee, to a man that liveth at rest in his possessions, unto a man that have nothing to vex him, and that have prosperity in all things, yea, unto him that is yet able to receive me. And the reason why this is an important scripture in terms of this topic is because a person that's got all these riches, but then they realize, man, they're gonna die, and it's bitter to them, right? And they don't believe in the afterlife, they don't believe in reincarnation, they don't believe that they're gonna come back to the earth again and live on the same planet, on the same earth, and have to go through living again, right? The reason why this is important is because these kind of rulers will end up doing evil to themselves in remembrance of that, how they're going to die, and then end up doing evil towards everybody else as well, because they're like, well, I ain't going to come back again anyway, so who cares? Who cares if I end up ruining the world for other people? Let them deal with it, because I'm not going to be around anyway, so who cares? And proof of this point is when you go to Sirach, the second chapter, right? Sirach, the second chapter, or it's Wisdom of Solomon. No, it's Wisdom of Solomon, the second chapter, excuse me. When you go to Wisdom of Solomon, the second chapter, and you hear how the wicked think. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2 and verse 1, for the ungodly said, reason with themselves, but not aright. Our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave. And now let me jump down, right? Let me jump down to the point I'm trying to make. Verse 6, come on therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. But you can't just speedily use Yahweh's creatures, because they need time to replenish themselves, right? You can't just overuse any of the things that Yahweh's got in the earth. But when you're a person that's got an evil mind like that, and you're bitter that you're going to die, you end up living like that. But the Israelites are going to be immortal rulers, so they ain't going to live like that. They're going to know that we ain't got nowhere else to go. We're going to stay on this earth forever. All you other heathen nations, you're going to come and go, but the nation of Israel is going to remain on this earth forever, right? One individual Israelite's life is going to always be a continual process. It's not going to have an end once it has its beginning. Once the Israelite's life begins, from that point on, it's never going to end ever again. So if they're born 2 million years into the kingdom, 2 million years after that, they're still going to be there. Whereas in that time, plenty of several of hundreds of millions, billions, trillions of heathens are going to have perished in that time, but the Israelites were going to still be there, and we're going to be immortal. And that's why having an immortal ruler is very beneficial, because it's going to make them not do things that a mortal ruler would do, like they'll ruin the earth and be like, well, okay, what I tried didn't work, but I'm not going to be here anyway, so let them deal with it, who cares? Let the next generation worry about it, I'm not going to be here anyway, so I don't care. And that's how these rulers think. They don't care when they're ruining the earth. They don't care about the evils that they're doing, because the way how they see it is, I'm not going to have to deal with the problems. Whereas if all these wicked rulers from the past would to see what damage they've done now, they'd have to deal with the damage that they did. Now in the spirit, they're going to have to deal with the damage that they've done in the 1,000-year captivity that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai is setting up for them. But they don't know that though. They don't get to see the damage 100 years later from what Dave did 100 years before. They've never got to see that, man. They ain't got to see all the wickedness that they've pushed out in the earth. And remember that they actually are the ones that caused it. If let's say they come back in a reincarnation, they don't think that it was them in the past. Like all these low-level Edomite tramps, they believe that they're separate from their elites. And their so-called high IQ hasn't yet made them realize that the small hats and them are exactly the same people, just different tribes. They haven't yet been able to, with their so-called high IQ, figure that out yet because they're dumb. And they never had a high anything. Sirach chapter 10 and verse 8, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Now, the kingdom that's going to be ruled by immortals, which are the Israelites, is never going to be passed on to another people, because we're never going to do anything worthy of that happening. We're not going to do unrighteous dealings. If a heathen does something right and another heathen does something wrong, the heathen that's wrong is going to be punished. If a heathen does not break the laws of Yahweh, which they always will, they will never be punished. But if they can figure out a way to make themselves not break the laws, then they'll never be punished. But let's see if they can manage that. That's the thing. We're going to have to see if they can manage it. That's what we're going to have to see. But they're not going to be able to do it though. And injuries, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. But that's not going to happen to us though. Right? We're going to actually be happy. Whereas the Edomites that they're in rulership right now, they're not happy because they've always continually had Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 18 flying over their head, knowing that they've got extermination for their whole nation coming. And that's why they do all the evil that they do on this earth. But the Israelites, we know that we're never going to have to cry again, worry about anything again after this time's over. So we ain't going to be evil like how Esau's been. We're going to be righteous. Revelation chapter 1 and verse 4, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Now, I remember I put a note in here. I'm going to just read the note. Yeah, Isaiah chapter 65 and verse 19, because you got people out there that try and apply this scripture to everyone, but it's a prophecy that was mentioned in the Old Testament that relates to the Israelites in the present time. Isaiah chapter 65 and verse 19, and I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people, and the voice of weeping shall no more be heard in her, nor the voice of crying. And that matches perfectly with the scripture that I just read in Revelation 21. But you have these people that try and apply it to both, to all everyone on earth, but it's not going to be like that. Now the heathen are going to cry less because we're going to be in power, because you've got scriptures like this, right, that back that up. Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2, when the righteous in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. They're going to cry less. They're going to mourn less, because they're going to know that there's going to be justice for the evils that are going to still happen from the heathen's hands. But we're going to not cry at all, because there's going to be no evil amongst our nation at all. And we're going to rule the earth in righteousness, man. Not in what we think the right judgment it should be, in what Yahweh said it's supposed to be. Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, come ye and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem, and he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And just the fact that this world's getting heavier into the sword and heavier into war right now clearly proves, right? It clearly proves that the people that are claiming that they're the true Israelites in the land of Israel are not those. Because why is the land having all these things dropped on it? You think that them people that are in the land of Israel ain't crying when them missiles are hitting the land? You damn sure they are. So they ain't fulfilled Revelation 21, have they? Because they're crying. Let's say we're not Israelites, which we are, but let's just say that we're not, right? For the sake of this particular point I'm trying to make. Well, why am I mourning then? Why am I mourning all the time and complaining about the world, man? Why is there not really anything that I can see that I find righteous? Why can't I go to the supposed real Israelites and they teach us of their ways and I walk in their paths? For out of Zion's going forth the law and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. Why ain't that happening? Why is that? Why ain't we got no access to that, man? Because they're not the people, right? And I'm gonna end the lesson there, man. There's more things I could have said, but I just wanted to try and keep this one shorter. Right? I wanted to try and keep this one short, man. Yeah, the world's gonna be ruled by immortals, man. Shalom to the nation of Israel. Shalom.